2021. I mean, I was live a whole lot in 2020. We did that little show called Space Between the Sheets. Y'all remember that? But I think it's been at least a full year since I've been on this little live thing, which feels crazy. I feel like I don't even know how to use Instagram anymore, which is a conversation for another day. But like, this is a different space. This isn't the Instagram we used to have back when we were youngin'. What's up, Snooks? Nicole Snooky Polizzi is in the building, y'all. I love you. I miss you. Happy New Year. Happy fucking New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. We lit some candles. No, for real. Welcome to 2022. 2022. Doesn't that kind of sound like, I read this probably on Instagram, but it kind of sounds like 2020 part 2. And 2021 sounds like 2021, like WON. So we're just living in an existential spiral forever. But we can do it without alcohol. We can. So last night, Bethany every year puts together a cute little spell for us. We light some candles, we say some words, we write some things down, we burn some things, we bring in some things, we release some things. And, excuse me, still got a little COVID congestion happening. But last night, Bethany pulled out these liminal space tarot cards, postcards from liminal space. And I figured a good way that we could start off today's conversation sharing with you the card that I pulled. So we each pulled a card, and I want to read to you what the card. So the card that I pulled was this one. Drink water. Drink water, right? Sounds pretty basic. But since the dawn of this planet, water has held the highly esteemed role of sustaining all life. The saying goes, chronic dehydration rates are at an all-time high. But remember, just because this is happening on a large scale does not mean it is normal. Stay hydrated, y'all. So please do yourself a favor and drink water. Your life literally depends on it. I just thought that was like a pretty great card to have pulled to start the year. So cheers. Happy New Year. Drink water. If you don't have a fucking glass of water in front of you right now, you should go get one. Go ahead. Go get some water. Go get some water. And today, we're going to be talking about Tempest. I'm sure if you follow me on here, this is true. Not all water is created equal. This is very, very true. Water education is very important. This is Berkey filtered water. If y'all don't know about that Berkey filtered water, you should check it out. This is not sponsored by Berkey, but if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, you know, Berkey in a mason jar. Living in the sticks, drinking Berkey out of a mason jar. Do I bury my food too? Maybe, but that's another conversation for another day. Okay, we're losing track here. We are talking about Tempest today. Tempest is the first clinically proven digital recovery program that can help you with your relationship with alcohol. I found Tempest already a couple of years ago. Wow, that's crazy. But I started working with them last year, and it's such an incredible company. It's such an incredible resource. It's an alternative to other ways that exist out there on how to try to get you to help. It has a much more fluid approach than some other programs that exist. And for me specifically, my addictions always really centered around alcohol. Like anything else that I would do would lead from me being drunk or drinking too much. Like I would go do drugs because I was drunk. I wasn't like buying cocaine when I was sober. Never happened. But almost 7 years ago now, the 13th is my 7-year date. I gave up alcohol and my life got exponentially better. And I didn't give up everything. I still smoke weed from time to time. I still work with plant medicine. And that idea isn't always accepted in alcohol-free programs, right? Like it's in a lot of ways, it's all or nothing. And when I found Tempest, it was a safe space where sobriety could be fluid, like every other aspect of my life. And it just made so much sense to me. Like it's not black or white, right? Like we live in that space between, we live in that gray area in every aspect of our lives. And I think that like, it's time that we have the conversation around sobriety in the same way. So I am going to be joined here, I'm going to be joined here in a minute. Danny Medrano, who is a Tempest recovery coach, is going to come on in just a second, and we are going to talk about Tempest and the dry January experience, which is starting today. If you're interested, we can get you on board. I'm going to put a link here. Right there, the link down there, the dry January experience with Tempest. So if you want to learn some more, are you going to smoke weed now, Nico? No, I'm not going to smoke weed now, but I appreciate the question. There'll be plenty of time for more questions later on. But I do want to talk about one thing before I bring Danny on, and I'm going to segue into it with her because I want to get her opinion on it. I said something in my stories a little bit ago about sometimes I wish I would wake up hungover. Question, who's hungover here right now? Are any of y'all hungover? Give me a hand raise if you're hungover right now. Oh yeah, we got lots of likes. I love you too, Sarah. Sarah Michelle 123. I love all three of you. Who's hungover? Nope, good. We love. I got 2 no's. 2 no's? No? We don't have any hungover people right here right now? No? Okay, cool. Well, keep on doing your thing. I'm going to keep talking. Sometimes I wish, and I don't know why I said this. It's a real feeling, and I'm sharing it with you. This is a safe space. Sometimes I miss the feeling of waking up hungover. And that is a fucked up thing to say, right? Like, nobody likes waking up hungover. And I do want to preface, like, waking up not hungover is better 999 out of 1,000 times, right? Like, yes. But there is something about that feeling of waking up in the morning and needing to, like, take care of myself more because I'm bad off, that, like, one morning hungover leads to 6 mornings hungover for me, and then I don't make it to the fucking holiday party, and then I'm just hungover for a year straight, and then I'm peeing the bed and having weird dreams and getting into fights with people, and it's just not cute. So without further ado, let's talk about all of this. Let's talk about Tempest, and let's meet one of Tempest's recovery coaches, Danny Medrano. Danny, are you here? If you are here, will you send me a request to go live with me? Da, 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 do, do, do. There you are. There you are. There you are. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, Danny Medrano. I swear I just brought you on. No? Danny, try sending it one more time. I thought she was coming, but then she's not. Please hold, y'all. She's coming. There she is.
Nico.
Hi, Danny.
Hi, Nico. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
I'm so happy you were talking about water because I'm a Pisces.
Love that. Love that. Yeah, I mean, I figured it was an important way to start. What's your take on staying hydrated and its importance?
Well, let me tell you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. How did you find Tempest? And tell us just a little bit about your recovery journey.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Nico. Okay, so I would say that I struggled with alcohol for a really long time. When I'm really honest, I think it was over a decade that I knew something wasn't right with my drinking, but I truly didn't think that it would ever be possible for me to lay it down for good. And it was the September, I was at a friend's barbecue and I had started to do some research about what types of recovery modalities were out there because I had a lot of negative associations with like things that I already knew about. And, quite frankly, my self-esteem was already so far in the shitter. I was already just like so low and had like so much lack of self-worth. And so, when I found Tempest, it was the first time that I had been told that it was possible to heal. And that I could be liberated from alcohol rather than sort of like always feeling like I was going to be deprived of it.
Yeah.
And then hearing that just felt like medicine, and then learning all of these holistic ways to start to develop myself and become a whole person and discover who I was. And when I quit drinking, I felt like a recently hatched chick. I was like, I don't even know who I am or what I want or what I like. So this process of sort of putting myself together, building myself back up, learning to speak to myself as a friend, like pushing back on that kind of inner critic that had been running the show for so long. And then also, it was the first time that I'd been told that there wasn't anything wrong with me, right? It was the substance that I was ingesting that was harmful. So that was back in 2018, and I've been part of this community ever since, and it's, a really, really important part of my life. Yeah. And I get to work with folks, which is really wonderful.
And what is your job at Tempest right now?
So I'm a recovery coach, which means that I work with folks one-on-one, people who want maybe every day. Folks show up and share challenges, celebrations, and really, to be really honest with you, like that's how I got sober. Showing up, realizing that I wasn't alone, being extended the hand of compassion before I could even give that to myself. And I'm sure you can relate to this, Nico. So much of this practice, there's like an absurdity to it sometimes. And so having other people with whom I could laugh about like the reality of just like figuring out how to be a person in this world who no longer drinks, you know, it's really helpful. Yeah.
You're alone in your either addiction or sobriety, right? Like it's very easy to take it all very seriously, right? And it is a subject matter, but like when you are able to find community and laugh about it, right? And share and find those human connections, like you bring it to just a higher level that doesn't feel heavy all of the time.
Oh my
And
gosh.
does.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk some just about like what Tempest is, basic terms, and what a membership looks like?
Totally. Okay, so we're a digital recovery platform, right? So you sign up and you become part of our membership. And as part of our membership, like I'm just going to speak in really plain terms, you get content, care, and community. So content, you have every single month we have different content that comes out that could be on a theme, anything from like relationships to creativity to joy to rest to cross addiction, these things. We also have a foundations program. So when you start, right, like no matter what your entry point is or what your goals are, we're going to give you tools just like right out of the gate to get you started, to kind of get yourself organized, right? Because a lot of us show up to these moments and we know there's like so many things we want to change and it can feel overwhelming. So we help you organize that. We help you get started. Like it's practical right away. So that's the content part. And then care, right? You have a team of coaches like myself who are really available to you all the time. And you don't have to sign up for one-on-one coaching in order to get that. You'll meet us in our calls. We're interacting with you on our community platform. And then the third part is community, right? So as you become, you know, like you were just saying, Nico, like so often we feel isolated. We feel like there's something so wrong with us. I mean, I'll speak for myself. That's how I felt. I felt like there was something very broken in me. So when I entered into this community and kind of started slowly but surely to let myself be seen as I was without kind of like laying down those masks I'd worn, right? Like there really is an opportunity to like make real connections and friendships and to get that and get and receive support from community. Yeah. So I would say like that's sort of like what you get in membership. And then, you know, we're effective. We're an effective program. And then like kind of going back to our own story, clinically proven. Thank you. Yeah. So kind of going back. He's going to empower you that you know what's best for you. And like my job as a coach and all of us coaches, it's our job to like just walk alongside you as you discover what that is. So just like addiction touches like all parts of our lives, right? None of those things are exempt, right? We're holistic, right? So you can bring in the full of who you are. And we look at your inner world, your outer world, your relationships, your environment, the systems that we operate under. And we look at all these things as like the foundation from which we start to really heal. Yeah.
From 2018 to I'm curious to hear from you how you've witnessed just addictions, dependency on alcohol, recovery, just kind of like the social flow of things around alcohol have shifted and evolved post 2020 and kind of like at now going into 2022, where it seems like in a lot of cities, right, like COVID's really bad again. Like it's a different version. There's just like high stress in a lot of areas, right? Just yeah, curious to hear from you, kind of where we are now on a larger scale.
Mm. Oh my gosh. So what I will tell you is that, you know, well, I don't have to tell you, we all know like the effect that this pandemic has had on all of us. In such a profound way. So many people have come to us in the past year and a half, almost 2 years now, because they recognized that, you know, what perhaps started out as a helpful coping strategy, right, to kind of help ourselves through this really tumultuous time, started to go off the rails. We're spending a ton of time at home, right? We're dealing with a lot of uncertainty and chaos. So a lot of folks have come to us more recently to address this. But when I really kind of pull back, you know, what I'll also say is that what I'm witnessing is there's also this kind of, inside of all the awful and intensity and like this sort of returning back again and again to this uncertainty, there's also this great and powerful waking up that I am recognizing and noticing. All questioning how we're living, you know? I mean, I'm getting the chills just talking about it. How we're living, what our values are, how we want to feel in our day-to-day life. You know, the stakes feel very high. And I think because of that, you know, as we say at Tempest, like, what would it look like to create a life I don't want to escape from, you know? And so inside of the challenge and the tumult, there's also such an opportunity to do things differently. And, you know, for me, like, just to get personal, it's like, that is my deepest why. This is my deepest why of recovery is, for me, it's a daily practice of liberation. You know, so when when it's challenging, which it still is sometimes, I mean, I'm sure you know that, like, just because we quit drinking doesn't mean all of our problems go away, right? But if I can stay connected to that thing that, like, no, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than just not drinking. This is like how I become more and more fully who I am. And so, you know, I really do see that that is something I do right now. How do we want to live?
Yeah.
Such a good
How do
question.
we actually be alive rather than survive? And I feel like that's how so many of us are programmed to just get through every day.
Yeah.
Truly living more effort, right? And in a lot of ways, these last couple of years have highlighted the types of effort that at least I want to put into it until I started like hurting myself and the people around me. And I just knew that like I wasn't going to be able to accomplish the things in this life that I needed to if I was going to as part of my daily practice. And so I let it go, you know, and like it, what I loved most about the Tempest language and rhetoric is that it didn't have to be all or nothing, like immediate. There was this fluidity to the language around getting sober and being sober curious, right? Which I think perfect to recognize some behaviors that like maybe I can start to think about my relationship with alcohol a little differently. Like, where do you start? What's the first step?
So good. I'm just like so loving these questions. Okay, so the first thing I'll say is that, you know, there's a myth out there that in order to, you know, claim that you have a problem or reach out for help or to take some steps is that you have to hit that proverbial rock bottom. And for some of us, that is what happens. Yeah. But for so many more of us, like that isn't a requirement in order to begin to renegotiate or question our relationship with alcohol. You can show up and experiment, and you don't have to know if it's going to be forever. It's okay. You don't have to have all the answers. And then, yes, to your point about um, like I can either handle it, I can drink normally, I can take it or leave it, or I'm like, I have a major problem. And just as you said, there's like such a spectrum in between. And so much of this practice, I believe, is pushing back on that black and white thinking, the binary, right? Because if we're always kind of focused on either extreme, we're missing all that middle area which truly is where our actual life is happening. So what I would offer is like, instead of thinking, do I have a problem? Going online, taking tests, like, do I have a problem? And like, you get spit out an answer that, whatever, it might ultimately be arbitrary. Maybe just for now, setting that line of questioning aside and ask yourself instead, like, is alcohol still adding more to my life than it's taking?
Right.
Like you said, it's like for so many of us, the reason we start drinking is because it is pleasurable at first, and it does help at first being like the word, So, is it still bringing me joy and pleasure and connection? Or am I kind of more in that camp where it's like, oh my gosh, these hangovers are so intense, or like it takes me 2 or 3 days to recover from feeling shame or anxiety or depression, that self-loathing that I know is so present in my own life, right? So my whole thing is like, and like I always say, like, show me a person in recovery and I'll show you a person who's like really up against like perfectionism, right? We are human beings. They're missing that like grand spectrum in between those two extremes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for a long time, alcohol was what it seemed to be a creative for me. It was like drinking, specifically like by myself, right? Like I would be creating all art and writing and painting and doing things outside of myself. And that just stopped, right? Like wasn't the case. Like I go deeper and deeper into like depths of darkness to try to pull more of that out. And it just like, I woke up one day and I realized that's not what it was doing. Mm-hmm. And guilt. I think that's ultimately what actually saved my life, waking up with that feeling in so many ways. And I know and I have friends and family members who could wake up in the morning and not feel an ounce of that. And I'm always amazed on how people can go through life without feeling that, specifically tied to their drinking. And, I guess the question in this is like, in my own life, there are still that I wake up and I still feel parts of nothing to do with my alcohol, right? Or any alcohol in my life. And I guess my question for you is like, how do you kind of deal with that post recovery?
I'm just like smiling because I also know people like that, and I'm always just like, what? How is that possible? Because for me, that was often like that shame and self-loathing was 10 times worse than the physical effects of a hangover. Like, for sure, I could hang out on the couch all day, fine, but like
did I ruin my life, and did I ruin somebody else's life? Like,
yeah.
that is really like, did I ruin the party? Did I make someone else feel like shit because of something that I said? And those thoughts still come into my fucking head. Like a random night that I had in 2014, something that I said to someone will like get into my head, and like for an hour I'll be like in a potential spiral.
Oh, I so hear you. And you know, it's like we are grand ruminators, aren't we? Those of us in recovery, or like, you know, maybe struggling with addiction or questioning. I am so good at ruminating and thinking about what I did, what I didn't do, what I said, what I didn't say. And frankly, I'm going to tell y'all right now, like that is a part of this, right? There is like a reckoning, I believe, that has to happen. And so the way that the first thing that I would say is it's not going to happen overnight. Healing that isn't going to happen overnight. And so what's required, and I don't mean to I'm not even going to caveat it with anything. What is required is that we develop self-compassion. And what I'm also going to say about that is that it's difficult to do that. It's not just like, if we have spent decades, in my case, believing myself to be a piece of shit, I'm not going to wake up the next day and be like, oh, I love myself, I'm this amazing person, whatever, right? If only, like, I'd be a rich woman. Anyway, so like, I would say that what I always say is that I cannot tell you how long it will take for things to shift. I will not tell anyone that, okay, 90 days in, you're going to experience the shift in how you think about yourself. But what I can say, and what I believe in my like core, is that as long as we keep showing up to our practice, to ourselves, to our community, that it will shift. And this is a piece for me, and I don't know if you relate to this, but I needed community in order for that to begin to happen for me, because I couldn't extend compassion toward myself at all. So what happened was I started practicing giving compassion to other people. I could do that. I started receiving compassion from other people, and just slowly over time, right? I remember one day I was running. It was like early pandemic. Suddenly I'm a runner. I'm like heaving my ass up this hill. I'm sweating, I'm panting. And I get to the top. I was like halfway to the top. And in my head, my voice was,